Assalamu alaikum. I pray all of you are well. This is a response to Christian missionaries, to antagonists, detractors of Islam who make a very false claim. In fact, it's an old claim, a very old false claim. It's one of a really old claim, in fact. It's so old that it's responded to in one of the earliest chapters revealed in the Quran in Mecca. And that's when Allah revealed in the Quran Surah Takwir, when He says subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَمَا صَحِبُكُم مِّن مَجْنُونٍ وَلَقَدْ رَأَوْا بِالْأُفُقِ الْمُبِينِ, that your companion is not mad, is not possessed, bewitched, and he indeed saw him, meaning the angel Gabriel, Jibreel, on the clear horizon. And this is a dhikr, this is a reminder from the Lord of the worlds. Now, the story is like this, therefore, the Christians argue, evangelists argue, that the prophetic experience in the cave of Hira was something that was demonic rather than being angelic. And we have a few points for us to consider in this very short presentation. Number one is this. What do the sources actually say about this experience? They say, number one, that it was not the first time the Prophet, of course, went to the cave of Hira. It was something that he would do regularly, and to escape from the idol worship and the polytheism of his society of Mecca. He would go in the cave, into the cave. He would spend, in fact, days there, nights there. He would spend a long time there. He would go with kind of food with him, because it was a long time he was going to spend in the cave and meditating, remembering Allah, worshipping Allah alone in oneness. And on that one particular night, in the night of Ramadan, the sources say that he was met by an experience where he heard someone saying to him, Iqra, recite. And the Prophet of Allah experienced a feeling of pressure on himself as he's being told to recite, Iqra. And then he says, Ma ana biqari, I'm unable to recite, I can't read, I can't recite, because the Prophet, of course, was unlettered, illiterate. And then a second time, Iqra, and it was a more severe pressing on him, recite. And again he said, Ma ana biqari, I can't recite, I can't read. And then the third time, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq, Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram, الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. The first verses revealed of the Quran from Surah Al-Alaq. Recite in the name of your Lord who created from a clot of blood. Recite, and the Lord is the most generous, who taught man by the pen, taught him that which you didn't know. That's the first. That's what the sources are actually saying. Now, of course, the Prophet didn't know what it was, who it was, what it was. It was something startling for him. Just think about the psychology of man here. Of course, it was something that the Prophet hadn't experienced that before, and it was something that was new for him, and he was startled by it. And so he goes running home to his wife, Khadija, and he's saying, Zammiluni dathiruni, cover me, cloak me, because I'm worried for myself. And of course, you would expect that, in fact, because it's a new experience for him, and if he was a charlatan, you'd expect, like, all guns blazing, like, of course, I've experienced this, and did you know, and a big thing. But the Prophet, in all humility and humbleness before Allah, he said, I don't know what's just happened to me. And he was worried. And then the Khadija was so beautiful, because she says to him, Allah wouldn't do you any harm, O Muhammad. You're someone who joins ties of kinship. You look after the poor. You carry people's burdens and the orphans. And she's reminding him of his social goodness. This is amazing. The first witness reminding of his social goodness. And then there was a delay, a gap in revelation. This is when the Prophet became really startled, because he didn't know what had happened now. Why was there nothing? And he would go back to the cave of Hira, and he wouldn't experience the same thing. But he would hear a voice. So on the way back down, he would hear the same sound of that same individual, or the angel Gabriel, saying to him, O Muhammad, don't worry, because it's me, I am Gabriel. And it's a reminder for him. So therefore, he does have that sense of reassurance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing is for us to remember that during this time, during the gap in revelation, the pagans began to make fun of him and began to say to him, وَدَّعَهُ رَبُّهُ, his Lord has abandoned him, his Lord has abandoned him, meaning, is that all you're going to bring for us? And it's at this beautiful moment, in fact, after the gap in revelation, that Allah revealed a beautiful chapter called Surah Al-Duha. Now, this is something, of course, our Christian missionary friends never care to mention, because this, in fact, is the verse. This is the chapter in the context of this whole experience, because in this chapter, Allah is saying, "Wal-duha," by the early morning brightness, "Ma wadda'aka rabbuka wal-duha wal-layli idha saja," by the early morning brightness, meaning a new beginning, a new day, new start, freshness, openness, new chapter in life, and by the night when it comes in its stillness. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Your Lord has not abandoned you, nor does he scorn you. This is a direct response to that, what the pagan in fact was saying. It's a beautiful chapter. You should go home and read it. It says, and your Lord is pleased with you, and you will have whatever comes to you in the next life or hereafter will be outstrip what you have in fact today. It's a reminder for him. And then of course about his the pre-days, the pre-narrative, before this day, the yesterdays. أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. Didn't he find you, Allah find you orphan and sheltered you, and found you poor, enriched you, found you wandering, guided you. And then the post days, the amazing empathic outreach. فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. As for the orphan, don't be cruel. Meaning once you're going to find in your life hereafter people who will like you were yesterday, but don't be cruel. وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. As for the one that comes to push and ask you, don't push him away from you. And the ulama, they say, وَذْكُرْ يُتْمَكْ. Remember when you've an orphan. وَذْكُرْ فَقْرَكَ. Remember when you were poor. Amazing, beautiful chapter. Anyway, that's the context. Point number 3 is this, that so they argue therefore that this is the first so-called demonic encounter, and thereafter Islam and Quran is inspired by the devil. There's many things, of course, for us to think about. Number one, how would the Quran be inspired by the devil if the Quran perhaps is the only book in human history that's telling its readers so often to seek refuge with Allah from the devil, the accursed one? When you recite the Quran, you need to recite that. You need to say, A'udhu Billah, I seek refuge with Allah from Shaitan al-Rajim, the Shaitan, the rejected cursed one. The Quran commands, when you recite the Quran, فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ, seek refuge with Allah from Shaitan, the accursed one. Which other book, in fact, does that? Not just the Quran, in fact, in so many things in life. The Quran says, tell the believers to speak beautiful words to one another. فَإِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنْزَغُ بَيْنَهُم, because Shaitan seeks to sow discord and corruption between them. The Quran is reminding again and again that beware of the satanic, demonic presence around you, and always place your trust and reliance on Allah in His remembrance. How could that be then from the devil himself? It makes no sense. And for us to also consider that the Quran is remarkable, because it's calling people back to the universal truth of worshipping one Allah, Allah alone, to reject the devil of all false deities, to reject idol worship and all false deities. How could that be from the devil then? Reject all false deities, reject all rivals with Allah, and only worship Allah alone. Amazing things for us to all think about. May Allah accept from all of us. And there we go. Jazakumullah khairan.